Understanding your breathing mechanics can be an excellent tool when utilizing it in your strength training and on a day-to-day basis. So having an understanding of what the rib cage should do and how that will correlate to how your body moves, how you create pressure through your abdominals and your core by being able to stack your rib cage on top of your pelvis becomes essential, especially when you're strength training, so you're not leaking energy. When we're addressing the rib cage mechanics, what we need to understand is that the rib cage expands three-dimensionally as we breathe in. Think about the lungs being two balloons, and as they fill up with air, they're going to expand our rib cage. And then as we exhale, we will find that the rib cage compresses down. Okay, so we often think about the ribs as just ribs, single bones sitting around. It is a full unit that can expand and compress together. So we're not going to look too much at breathing techniques, although they are really great to use breathing techniques for different things. So you might have been told to belly breathe, fantastic to down-regulate the nervous system. When we're looking at breathing mechanics in belly breathing, in this position, if you find that you belly breathe and then flare the ribs and go into extension, you can see now that my ribs are traveling forward and away and my pelvis has been left behind, which means my ribs can't stack on top of my pelvis, which means the diaphragm and the pelvic floor cannot communicate. Again, that is essential for lifting heavy and being able to lift heavy without pain. The other thing we might find is that if you're highly stressed, you take shorter, shallower breaths. You might be very much an upper chest breather, which is going to tighten everything up here and make everything really inflamed and angry. What I want you to think with our breathing, we're going to use the ground as a bit of a tool here when we do the exercises in the following videos. When we breathe and inhale, I want you to think it expands our chest and expands our back. I'm not going to breathe too much into my belly while I extend, and I'm not going to breathe too much into the chest where I'm going to compress. So I just want you to think about keeping things quite neutral here, trying to breathe into the chest and into the back. So if you watch my hands here as I inhale, both hands travel away from each other, and as I exhale, both hands come back towards each other. From the side here, as I inhale, my elbows get wider, and as I exhale, my elbows come closer together. So my rib cage is expanding and compressing three-dimensionally. Just keep that in mind when you're giving these breathing exercises a try, and let me know if you have any questions. Rock back breathing. This exercise is designed to expand the rib cage three-dimensionally and compress the rib cage three-dimensionally. Okay, that's really important for when we're doing strength training or you're running, sprinting, whatever it may be, that the spine can stay stacked, so the structures of the rib cage and the pelvis can stay stacked, which will allow the diaphragm and pelvic floor to work together. Okay, you might find that your posture is kind of arched. Okay, you can see my rib cage is in front there of my pelvis, which is going to make it really hard for those things to communicate. Vice versa, if I'm really hunched over and falling forward, same sort of thing. We want to be able to stack and let the rib cage expand and contract, especially for more athletic and movement-based postures that will allow us to rotate and move side to side. Okay, so the setup for this exercise is on your hands and knees. If you have sore knees, you can put something underneath your knees here just to give you a bit of cushioning, and as well you can put something between the hamstring and the calf, so it means you won't sit back as far. Okay, over time you want to be able to sit back as far as you can, so be able to sit into this position where my backside is pretty much on my heels and I'm getting a nice stretch through here as well. You can tuck the toes if you want to do it like that. Okay, so we're going to drop down onto our forearms and we're going to do something called supination with our hands. So we're going to turn our hands up towards the ceiling, so the palm of our hand is facing up. You should notice straight away I've got a little bit of flexion, my back's a little bit rounded. I'm going to gently press through the ground with my elbows, and you should see that I'm not sinking down anymore. My shoulder blades are wrapping around my upper back. I want to keep my neck nice and relaxed, so there shouldn't be any tension in there. Keeping your neck nice and relaxed. And we want to try and breathe in to the back of our ribs here. So we're going to create some expansion. So a really soft and gentle inhale through our nose. and you should see my upper back expands. And as I exhale, I want to keep that position. Let the ribs drop down at the front. So I haven't lost any expansion at the back, but at the front, my ribs have dropped in and wrapped around a little bit more. So I'm just going to go for another 3 of those. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, nice and gentle. Exhale like you're fogging up a mirror. You can go for 5 of those, okay? 5 is enough. We're trying to get that expansion at the back and compression at the front. Again, allowing the diaphragm and pelvic floor to start to work together and take some tension out of those muscles around your lower back and around the neck and around the hips that are holding unnecessary tension there.
Laying on your back with your feet on a wall and your legs at 90 degrees, pull the feet towards the ground like a hamstring curl and posterior tilt the pelvis, tucking your tailbone under to lift your glutes off the ground, just high enough so your lower back is still on the floor. Reach your hands towards the ceiling, protracting your shoulder blades and pulling the front of the rib cage down and inwards. Maintain this position and focus on the breath, inhaling through the nose and expanding the ribs and upper back, followed by an exhale through the mouth, dropping the front of the rib cage, which will engage the abs.